Welcome to Chit Chat with the Journey Sisters. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. And look at my beautiful guest and co host. It is indeed a pleasure to be here with you on another Saturday, a new month, and just excited about being on this side of the earth. I'm excited to be alive. I'm excited that God sees best to continue blessing us regardless. This afternoon is no different than any other afternoon. We are just here to sit with each other in each other's company and chit chat. Chit chat about issues that plague us because we refuse to deal with them. Chit chat about whatever comes to mind. It's just a conversation. And this afternoon with me, I have Miss Janelle, my co host as usual, and Miss Danielle, our guest. Usually, I go first and tell you everybody who I am, but everybody knows by now. I will talk about myself a little later, but I'm going to allow our guest to go first. Just go right ahead, Miss Danielle, and introduce yourself. Tell the people who you are and why you decide, why you're here with us this afternoon.
Oh man, well, my name is Danielle Simmons, and I am a storyteller. And that is a term that we don't hear very much in modern times, but it was something that was really, really important, back in the day with our ancestors, our history, our lineage, everything was passed down through stories. And I'm very fortunate that when I was coming up, this was something that my parents really instilled up. I was raised in a library. If my parents wanted to punish me, you can't go to the library this week. That's how geeky I was. And so I was really instilled with the idea that narrative and story was so important. As I become older, I've really begun to appreciate just how much story is everything. Story shapes how we see people in the news. And story also shapes how we see ourselves, our lives, and the things that have happened to us. So I'm really happy today to be here with you guys to discuss our shared stories and how those stories have grown and developed over the years as we become more aware of ourselves. I'm so excited.
Thank you so much, Danielle. And Janelle.
I'm so excited, Danielle. Thank you for being a part of this Chit Chat with the Journey Sisters show today. I am looking forward, you hear me, to hearing your storytelling abilities. And our guests, I'm pretty sure, are anticipating your amazing story. So, my name is Janelle, and yes, I am a life fulfillment coach. And what that is I help people uncover their purpose. I've helped so many persons, come to the realization of why they are here. Unless you understand who you are, where you're going, and how to get there, you seem to be in a state of delusion. You seem to be in a place where you're just going around in circles, never coming to the point that God purposed you to be. And a lot of times we just need to sit down and ask ourselves the question, who am I? Not what I do, not my job title, but really, who am I? And once you can identify with that, you can become the best version of yourself, and then you can serve humanity, you can serve your family, you can serve the community in a way that will blow your mind. So that's who I am. I am an author, I am an international recording artist, and yes, I wear so many hats, but I'm just proud to be a child of the King. That's who I am. And I'm here in Atlanta, Georgia with Miss Alicia. Miss Alicia, I'm going to throw the introduction ball over to you.
Got it. I am Alicia Alexander, your host of Chit Chat with the Journey Sisters, and I am your forgiveness coach. I don't know if you have ever been in a position where you were given forgiveness or someone was seeking forgiveness from you. And it's forgiveness is something that a lot of people struggle with. But the reality is, we all struggle with it. I am your forgiveness coach, and I let you know that forgiveness is an acquired taste. But once you acquire that taste, you want to keep tasting it. And it's a feeling of peace. And so, therefore, I use my blueprint to coach individuals through the process of forgiveness. There are a lot of times that we think that we're not worth it. What's the purpose? Now, the situation might not be worth it, but you are worth it. And forgiveness is just one key to get you there. Thank you again so much for joining us this afternoon. Let me turn this down. I am, Janelle, you know my topics. My topics
They're
have,
always big.
And I'm going to just put a disclaimer out there, you know. I got up this morning, and the person that you're seeing here today has not always been this person. You know, I've had several setbacks, and my setbacks were actually setups. But at that time, I did not realize that. And I know, despite of the setbacks, something was brewing on the inside. I've had many doors closed, and then we had many doors that were open. I've also had many opportunities that I took advantage of, and there were opportunities that I missed. Whether I missed them because I wasn't diligent enough, or I just missed them because it just wasn't my timing. But I've learned through everything that trouble does not last always.
Amen.
And it comes to all of us. Nobody is exempt from trouble. But trouble will eventually end, but trauma stays forever. Right? You might have these scars, and the scars are not always visible. And people might tell you, you know, you forget about it. You'll never forget. You'll forgive, you'll move on, you'll grow, but it's unfair to say forget, because I can't just forget what took place with me. And whether your trauma was rape, you know, abuse, abandonment, even loneliness is a trauma. We may not agree with the method that was used to get us to where we are. And that's why I started off by saying this is where I am today. And this wasn't always me. And I didn't agree with the method. I would not have chosen that method. But because of what took place, it molded me. And I could tell my story today to help somebody. And everything that took place indicated that I was chosen. And the devil tried to snatch me. And he is still trying. But what he doesn't understand is I can boldly declare today that I am taken. Okay? I am taken.
Good.
I was chosen, but I'm taken. I personally didn't even realize I was taken. You know, sometimes you know, there might be somebody watching you. You know, that's and he sees you and he's like, that's gonna be my wife. And all that time, I don't even realize that I'm taken.
I love it.
And so despite all the hiccups, the ups and downs, we have to get to a place that we realize that, you know what, I'm taken. Despite whatever it is, despite the ups and downs, despite the loneliness, despite the method that it took to bring me here, inside something was shaping me. And that shaping allowed me to stand emerged.
Love it.
Because I realize I am taken. And he has to realize I'm taken too. Now, you know who he I'm talking about. He with a common H, not with a capital H. And so, you know, who else out there thinks that it's too much? Life is too much. I've done so much. I've struggled. I've had all these ups and downs. When will it get better? Why it started to begin with? And when am I going to get to the point that I have the voice to say, you know what, I'm here. Not only that I'm surviving, not only that I've survived, but I'm thriving. And all that comes into play because we did not realize that, one, we're chosen, and now we can declare that we're taken.
Alicia.
And that's my take on my topic.
So, you know, I'm going to jump in right here, Alicia, because first of all, I want to say that we look really good in our yellow today. We are bright, shining like the sun. The joy of the Lord is our strength.
Yes.
We look good.
Yes.
So now that I've gotten that little bit of excitement out of me, this topic I'm taking, you know, I was thinking all sorts of different things, but I'm just gonna respond to what you said a minute ago. And this is one of the reasons why I'm so passionate helping people to realize and come to an understanding of who they are. The quicker you can get to that place and understand who you are, it'll save you so much mistakes and so much heartache. Now, I know that heartache and mistakes and all of these things are experiences that shape us and mold us to who we are, right? But I told God, I said, Lord, I don't need to, lose a foot to appreciate walking. I'm good. I'm just going to let you know that I appreciate walking. I don't need to have the experience in order to appreciate it. But once you understand your purpose, it allows you to choose the right people around you. I admire Dr. Miles Monroe and his teaching so much. He happens to be from the same country where I'm from, the 242, Bahamas, of course. Got to throw that in there.
I know it's coming.
But he was talking about when he understood his purpose when he was 13 years old. And because of what his purpose was, he realized that he never wanted to sleep around. He realized the importance of him getting a good education and focusing on his schoolwork. Now, he said he grew up in a house with a whole lot of children in one room. And he said, at that point, you looked at your situation and he could not see where, okay, how was my life going to get beyond this? How am I going to get out of the hood? How am I going to get out of the ghetto? How am I going to get out of the projects? I mean, because this is all I know. I don't know how I'm going to get out of this. But when there's this little thing that's on the inside of you, that passion begins to get ignited and you begin to get a revelation, and God starts to download into your heart drive, and your heart drive is what I'm talking about. He downloads into your hard drive. You are fearfully and wonderfully made, and you begin to think, okay, yeah, I am somebody, then you can come to the realization that, what, I've been bought with a price, so I'm taken. And so you wouldn't allow yourself to be mishandled by him or mishandled by her and, passed down and thrown around, because you would understand who you are. Now, there are sometimes when we go through things when we are vulnerable and we have no control over it. Like you said, Miss Alicia, you were chosen. And a lot of times we've got a lot of things that God allows us to go through. And the question that I'm asking you today is why? Why does God allow us to go through some difficult things? Why do some people have it easy and some of us got to go through? Well, I'm so glad you asked, because our guest, Ms. Danielle, has an amazing testimony, and I'm pretty sure she's going to just bless us today. Tell us, Ms. Danielle, give us a little bit of background in your story and how you became set free, how you became the person and the woman of God that you are today. Help us to understand, because, Chit Chat with the Journey Sisters is a platform where we are transparent. And not just because we can be, but we want to help somebody. We want our story to touch the life of somebody else. And so they say, hey, guess what? She went through it and she went through it and they came out of it. And even though they may still struggle here and there, God has raised them up and he's given them beauty for ashes. So maybe that can be me. And that's what this platform is all about. So Miss Danielle, the floor is yours.
Oh, thank you. Well, let me say it appears that we are a sisterhood of Caribbean ladies. Okay. Yeah. I am loving it. I heard a shout out. Was it the Bahamas?
Bahamas.
And then I'm guessing we got some Jamaica.
Yeah. Antigua.
There you go. And then for me, I'm half Barbadian. My mother is from Barbados.
We'll get that to you then. We'll get the Caribbean to you.
Yeah. I'm going to claim it. Listen, y'all are not going to cast me off.
No, you're not going nowhere.
So my father was in the Marines and he was stationed in Barbados, and that's where my parents met. And they were very young and very idealistic when they started their family. And they wanted us to have a very strong foundation in God, in the church, etc. And so we were raised with a lot of literacy. We were raised loving reading. I said we were raised in the library. Every week we would make a trip to the library to get books. I remember being heartbroken when my dad said that we were being banned from the children's section. He's like, no. Y'all haven't read those little books long enough. You are ready to read bigger books. No more books from the children's section. You got to go to adolescence, grown up, whatever. And so we were raised with all these stories and narratives. And so, reading about Marco Polo and Anne Shirley and all the Boxcar Kids and all that good stuff, I loved it. But my father also wanted us to have a strong racial identity. He wanted us to know who we were and where we came from. In fact, he wanted to name me Shaka Khan. And my mom was like, absolutely, absolutely not. And mother, thank you. So we were also homeschooled. As me and my two sisters, my mother homeschooled us all the way up to college. And so we were a very, very insular family of 5. And as wonderful as it was, there was a part of me that really wanted more, that wanted to see a bigger life and more adventure beyond just the 4 walls of our home and the 4 walls of our church. I was very active in church, very active in ministry, but there was a part of me that just believed that there was something more. And not being able to have it, I can recognize now, really put me kind of in a depressed state. When I was 23, unfortunately, both my parents were killed in a car accident. And that completely upended my life, completely. In that particular year, death just did a parade through my family. June 11th, my parents passed. A month to the day, my maternal grandmother passed away. She had been in ill health, but my mom passing just kind of pushed it over the edge for her. It was too much. A few months later, an uncle from my mom's side of the family passed away. And then a few months after that, an aunt from my dad's side of the family. So at that point, I just had a funeral bag that just stayed packed. There's no point in unpacking it. I'm going to get another call. And I remember, sitting down with God and it's like, okay, you know what? You do whatever you have to do this year. But when 2009 ends, nobody else dies. Like I am clinging to my sanity with almost nothing. I cannot survive another year like this. We need to make an agreement that you do whatever you're going to do. But January 1, 2010, this stops. And thankfully, January 2010, we did not have any more deaths in our family for several more years because I couldn't take it. But at 23 and newly turned for that, my birthday had just been a few weeks earlier. And as the eldest in my family, there was so much responsibility. I mean, most people don't have to plan a funeral to their 50s or 60s, and here I am 23. I got to plan a double funeral. I got to handle estates and lawyers. And it was a lot. It really, really was a lot. And so there were people who were brought into my life to help me with these things. And it took years of recognizing that some of those people who came to help were really helping themselves. And to realize just how much I had been groomed, how much I had been used, how much I had been lied to. And as much growth as I thought I had up to that point, that realization that, I had been essentially surrounded by a group of people that I really believed loved me, that I really believed cared about me, and who had my best interests. And to realize that all of it had been a manipulation, all of it had been a lie. The spiral, I can't even begin to describe to you just how low I went. And it took several years. It took several years of therapy, of counseling, of help to come to a place of realization that love did not have to be something to be afraid of. That if somebody cared about me, I'd have to be like, oh, no, go away. Why? That people could genuinely care about you, genuinely love you, genuinely want to be there for you without taking something from you, without lying to you, without coming with maliciousness. That love could truly be what everything the Bible says it ought to be. It could be loving. It could be kind. It could be considerate. It could put others first. And that journey of learning how to let love in, that's what my friends and I call it. When we're struggling with things and somebody wants to help, you're like, I don't know. It's like, are you letting love in? Take a deep breath, relax your shoulders, let love in.
Yes.
And that has been the journey of the last few years of learning to recognize love, learning to recognize when it's really in front of you, and then saying, you know what, I am going to let this in. And you're talking about the theme of taken. And this goes back to, my storytelling things. There was a time when the term taken was also used as to denote admiration or captivation. So somebody might say, I'm taken by her beauty. And so I remember this one morning, I was at work, I was outdoors. It was early morning, like the sun was still just coming up, and birds are singing and there's flowers. It's a really, really beautiful day. And there was just this moment of, you know what? I like my life.
Mm.
I
Wow.
like who I am. And nothing has changed. I'm a single woman. I don't have children. I'm getting older, as are we all. But just realizing that it's like, I really like my life. And it doesn't mean that anything has changed in this immediate moment. I'm still single, still don't have kids, the house is still, and this is that. But I really am taken by this life that I have. I'm taken by this beauty that's around me, that for the first time, I am not looking through, a veil of trauma or tears. I'm taken by this reality that my life is actually really beautiful right now. And I have love, and I am surrounded by love. And this must be what it means when they said you get beauty for tears, that you'll get beauty for ashes. This must be what it is, because I am so taken by this. And just that moment shifted everything. It literally shifted everything. So then when, people started coming into my life, it's like, well, wait, you know what? Actually, I have a beautiful life. Are you going to make it better? No. Okay. I'm taken.
Come on now. All right.
Listen, I have somebody who texts me every day to see about my day. So no, I don't need the, hey, beautiful. No, that's covered. I'm taken. Listen, I am good. I'm liking this. And if you're going to come into this, you've got to elevate, because we're not going back. We are not going back. I am taken.
Danielle, I love your passion, girl. I love your excitement for life, and how even though you've been through so much, how you've not allowed that to cloud you and just always be in a slump and always in a place where you want somebody to feel sorry for you. You have lost. Girl, I would have lost my cotton picking mind if I would have lost both parents at one time. I mean, look at how beautiful. I mean, it just blows my mind. And so many women and men are going to be encouraged by what you just shared with us, and even your perception, Alicia, on I'm taken, honey. I love that. She's loving her life. She's living. And see, that's when you understand purpose, when you understand why you had to go through what you've been through. And God just shows you that even in the midst of everything that you've been through, look at what I've given you. Look at what I've blessed you with. Look at where you are right now. That's amazing, Danielle.
Yeah, and I can see the glow on her face. I can see the word taken.
I know. Right? Alicia, so maybe with Danielle watching this, there'll be a nice, wonderful young man that is looking for a wonderful, strong, beautiful, excited woman.
You never know. You never know.
Danielle said it 3 times. She's single. I hope you guys heard her.
Well, I'll tell you this, as this point in my life, there's this idea that, something is wrong with you, if you're a woman in your 30s, and what do you mean you've never been married? What do you mean you don't have kids? Well, what's wrong with you? What? And it's like, no, nothing is wrong. That this is actually how my life was meant to look. And I will say, I am not one of those people who believe that you have to be grateful for everything that happens. I am not. Listen, there are things I would absolutely change if I could. Listen, I am not someone who's like, oh, I'm so grateful for all the trauma. No, I'm not. I am not. As happy as I am in my life right now, I truly believe had some of those things not happened, I could have been in a better place. I could have been even stronger. I could have been even like, listen, had I not, diverted some of those years. But I am someone who's like, even though those things happen, I am grateful for what I was able to glean from the ashes. I am grateful for and I mean, could I have got a different way? Probably. I probably could have. But you know what? This is the path I am on. This is the life that I have. And so I am grateful that I have this life because I recognize that it could have gone differently. I didn't have to survive what happened. I did not have to have the sanity and the clarity that I have. It could have gone so much worse. And so I'm grateful for where I am now, even though I absolutely believe that had something not happened, I would have been even better.
As you know, and I can relate to you that half the things that happen, I'm like, suppose those things didn't happen, where would I have been today? But I say, you know what? It happened. So therefore, let me just be thankful. Let me see the bright side of it.
There you go.
And those who have listened to the program before know my story. Being sexually abused, being traumatized, losing my voice, losing that self-confidence. And there are times when we're in the moment, like Jana said earlier, and we want answers. We want to know why. And we want to understand what is taking place. And how could this have happened? But what we don't understand and what we cannot understand, we don't know everything. What we have to understand in that moment is the obedience. He wants us to be obedient. And the seed that he was planting was going to grow up into something fruitful.
There you go.
And the fruit that comes from it was going to be delightful.
There you go.
Now, if he told me I was going to be a delight today, I'd be like, no, I'm just going to be this skinny little girl. I was skinny like this. My pastor used to say, be careful when the telephone company hanging their poles, because they might use you as one. Because I was so skinny, And then I put on the extra shorts so I could have a little lift in the back, But in that moment when things are happening, why are you holding your head, Jen?
I want to comment so bad.
But you do what you got to do.
In that moment when it's happening, we don't feel it. We have all these questions, and we think that quitting is an option. But there's something that was pruning on the inside, and we might have seen at that time that pruning, we might see it as a punishment or a curse. Well, I'm punished for what's taking place. It's my fault why it happened to me. It's my fault why he defined me. And like I mentioned before, everybody can see in the room, can see what took place. Even if nobody's paying attention to me, in my head, I believe that they can see what's happening to me, or they saw, or they can smell, or they can hear, or just the look on my face tell them something took place. But in the moment, when I thought it was punishment and I thought it was a curse, I didn't realize it was a preparation for my reward. And my reward is healing. And not just healing in the sense that I'm healed and there's no scars or anything, but healing that I can heal somebody else. Now, do I stay in the pruning? That's the question moment. Or do I jump ship? And some of us want to jump ship because we want to lean to our own understanding. And we want to jump that ship because we want to be comfortable, not realizing that there's a process that's needed in order to get us to the final destination. And I'm preaching this and I'm saying this, but I'm learning still. And I'm still growing. And I am not excited by what took place. It still hurts. And it will hurt. But what did I do with what took place? How did I cope with it? And we don't always get the answers when we want them. In school, we are taught that whenever you do a test, that you get the correct answer, you get rewarded. Me, I have the answer. You get rewarded. But not every answer deserves a reward. And we go crazy when we try to reach to God and He's silent in that moment. Like, I need help. Why am I going through this? Why? And asking why and trying to solve a problem in the middle of it happening is disastrous.
Mm.
We're looking for these answers, we're looking for these clarity. And we don't realize that we're digging a deeper hole because we're looking for what we want the answer to be and not
Mm.
what his intended purpose is.
Mm.
And I can truly say that for me, going through that trauma, at the time it was innocent. After I realized what's taking place, I started asking questions. But I had this discerning spirit that there had to be a reason why. So I'm not going to press him too much. I was mad with him. God, I was mad with you. I
Mhm.
was mad with you, right?
Being there, done that.
And I had to ask, okay, I understand who you are. I know what they say in church. I know what they teach me. But why? But there was a discerning spirit that told me, hang in there.
Mm.
It's coming. It might not look the way you want it to look. You know, just imagine you have a tree that's, why would you prune something that's dying? If it's dying, that's it.
Mm.
You prune it because you know what's coming afterwards. But in the moment, we don't understand that process. And I am happy that I stayed obedient.
Mm.
I didn't stay, I'm not perfect. I didn't always respond correctly, and I still don't, but I stayed obedient. I'm gonna just
Mhm.
be honest, but I stayed obedient. And it's all because he had a plan,
Mhm.
which we don't understand.
I want to I want to piggyback on what you said because I want to get into the meat of Miss Danielle's story because she said something and I put a pin in it and I want to go right back there. But Alicia talked about the process. She talked about, having to go through the process. And when I think about baking a cake, and I
Mm.
think about all the ingredients that have to go into the cake. I don't know if anybody else like to eat cake like me. I mean, I shouldn't. I should be ashamed. I should be ashamed to say this.
No shame, no
But
shame.
I like to eat cake. You know what I'm saying? I love eating cake. And when you're making it, there's certain ingredients you have to put in it. And once the cake is in the pan and you put it in the oven, you turn the oven to 350. If you go ahead and the directions say that you should take the cake out in an hour, and you go ahead and it's hot and you take the cake out in 30 minutes, what type of cake do you think that's going to be? It's going to fall down, and you know how the cake becomes dumb and it
Mhm.
just deflates?
Mhm.
That's what happens when we either rush the process or we don't continue going through the process. We abort the plans that God has for us. And even though we're not that powerful to stop his plans, we can delay them. So a lot of times I believe that God had some things for us here, but stubborn me, knowing me, doing what I want to do, doing it my way, because this is me, it probably pushed it back a couple of years. I probably could have gotten to it quicker had I listened to his voice and followed the instructions.
Mm.
So the process is important. The process is important. So now let's get to the good stuff with Miss Danielle. So Miss Danielle,
Mhm.
I know that you're bubbly, you're happy, but you haven't always been that way. Now you
Mm.
said when you were planning the funeral and dealing with all of this stuff, there were some people that came in your life. Um, you thought that they were trying to help you, but you realized that they were the ones benefiting. I want you to
Mm.
just go there a little bit and tell us how you were able to overcome that and specifically kind of what that was.
Oh man. Well, it's funny. It comes back to story. It truly comes back to story. In a nutshell, I was introduced to a pastor who had a great deal of experience with estate planning, trusts, etc. He was a significantly older pastor, married, and to make a very long story short, over the course of a fair bit of time, he groomed me into a sexual relationship with him that lasted a few years. And once I was able to extricate myself from that, by the time I got myself out of the sexual component, I I believed that he was a friend. I believed he was somebody who cared about me. And I believed that I could not just discard him from my life. And that's part of the grooming process, that they will very much enmesh themselves into your life, into your psyche. And so even though I got out of the sexual part of the relationship, I did not put him out of my life completely. I still trusted him. I still cared about him. And so when he brought other people into my life and they used me, I did not see the hook. I believed that because he brought them into my life, that they cared about me the same way that he did. And so it took several years before I finally realized the truth. And I realized the truth because another woman shared her story. I'm just scrolling Facebook and I see this story that a woman had shared about how she had been groomed and how she had been used. And I'm reading her story, and there's a part where it's like, why does this feel familiar? Why does it feel like I know this story? And when it finally clicks who I'm thinking about, my first thought is, that can't be right. That cannot be right, because you were talking about a predator and I'm thinking of my best friend. There is no way. There is absolutely no way that everything that I have ever experienced with this person, that there's no way. Was it right? No, but surely it was an accident. Like it just happened. This was not something that somebody deliberately cultivated and did for years. There's no way. And so I went and I did my research about what grooming looks like. And I found a checklist that was, I think, 10 things that groomers say or do, particularly in a religious context, when they want to manipulate your mind and your person into doing something that ordinarily you would never do. And on a checklist of 10 items, he was all 10. And my world literally crumbled, because at that point, what groomers will do is they will pull you away from others, because they need to be the only voice in your mind. They need to be the first person you talk to. They need you to run everything by them. And so by that point, in many ways, he was my world. And if it wasn't him, it was the people that he had put around me. And so realizing that I would have to completely rebuild my world from scratch, to rebuild my self of identity from scratch, because he came into my life at a point where my brain literally had not finished developing. And if you did not know, the human brain does not finish development until 25.
Yep.
And so if you're somebody out there who's under 25, please understand that the decisions that you are making now, and the things that are happening to you now, are literally shaping your brain. And so there were years of having to reevaluate everything that I thought, everything that I believed, because now I don't know what is me and what's him, what is truth and what is a lie. So when it comes to, love, what does love actually look like? Because I thought this was love, and clearly it was not. What does care look like outside of manipulation? Going through my home and recognizing, oh my gosh, these pots, he bought them. I got to get rid of so much. Oh my goodness, because everything in some way was connected to him. And it took a long time. It took a really, really long time to rebuild and even now, and I mean, the relationship with him was one of almost 10 years. And so you do not spend that long with someone and then just undo it all in a matter of weeks or months. It's a very, very long time. And so even now, there are things that I'm experiencing that's like, wait, he said that. Wait, do I really think that? Do I really? Because you don't know. It's like having a memory with someone. And even though they're gone, you walk past a spot and the scent, and you're just like, wait, and it takes you back.
Oh my gosh. You're making it so real.
Yes, it's that constant unweaving. But as I have been unweaving that, I have been using the good that was left over to create another tapestry, another life. And so right now, I said, I'm really in a place where I am surrounded by truly beautiful, wonderful, loving people. And one of the things that I had to come to terms with was that one of the manipulations was the idea of aloneness. The idea that I was by myself in the world, and you poor little orphan, nobody cares about you like I do. Nobody is there for you like I am, just that. And it's very subtle, but it happens over time to make you believe that you really don't have anyone other than this person. And so part of coming out of that was the realization that love had always been available. And that love had always been there. And that had I reached out and had I asked, there were people who would have been there for me. There were people who would have supported me, that he was not the only, far from it, that I was the one who had kept love out. And some of that was, due to the manipulation. Some of that was due to my sheltered upbringing. But coming to a place is like, you know what? That is not true anymore. I no longer believe that story. I'm going to create a story that says that I am abundantly loved. I am abundantly cared for. I have written an affirmation for myself, and I read it for myself every morning. And one of the things it says is that everywhere I go, I find love. That it is written in the sunshine, it is written in the wind, in the smile of strangers, that everywhere I go, I will find love. And when you go out into the world looking for it, what you look for, you find. And so part of my healing, and I'm so grateful to the women who are surrounding me, because they were a huge part of my healing, of coming to the realization that just because I have been broken does not mean I am not worthy of love. Just because I am hurt does not mean I am less valuable. Just because I still have things to figure out doesn't mean that my voice and my views don't have worth. That as I am going through the process of growing and healing and developing and changing, I am still worthy of love. I still have something to give, and I am still worthy of receiving. That has been huge. That has been absolutely huge. Yes, go ahead, Janelle.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Danielle, for being transparent and really for speaking your heart. I felt like he may have just taken advantage of you because of the place that you were, the vulnerable moment that you was in. You wasn't really thinking clearly, and everything around you seemed like it was just, you were just by yourself. And there are a lot of times when we have low self-esteem because of what may have happened in our past. Even though we get older, there are some people that still manipulate us, and they may not be in the church or on the pulpit, God help us, but there are people that come into our lives that manipulate us and try to give us what they think our identity should be. But I'm so glad that God was able to reveal to you who you are and what he's called you to be, what he's chosen you to be, and you were able to see your identity in Christ. Because had that not been the case, there are some people that go into a serious state of depression and lose it all. But here you are, opening up your mouth, letting your voice be heard, and you're helping so much people. And one of the things that I've learned, the best people to help someone is the people that have been through it themselves. The best person to help a broken person was a person that was broken. Because you were broken, you qualify. You are qualified. God had qualified you. I don't care what type of degree you got, what type of university you went to God's university. And he has qualified you and justified you and called you because you were broken. So broken people are able to speak into other people that are broken. And this is why we go through, and this is why we overcome by the words of our testimony. And something you said reminded me of something you told me, Alicia, and I'm going to talk about it.
Yes,
you talked about stuff that brings trigger words, trigger habits. And you told me about a friend of yours that was chewing gum and clicking it, and it just brought back so many memories because Danielle was talking about just passing and smelling something that reminded her of Alicia, talk about that trigger moment and how sometimes, we know that we're human and we're still getting to that place. We're not completely there yet. We're still triggered by some things. Tell us how that triggered you and how you were able to just move past that place.
Janelle, let me just thank Danielle for being so transparent with her
Yes.
testimony. And as she's
Yes.
speaking and she talks about the manipulation, that was a trigger.
Mm.
That was a trigger right there because I'm sitting and I'm listening and I remember the words that he used, that you're not going to belong, and you're ugly and you're not one of us and what. And those are triggers that we try to run from,
Mm.
but it doesn't work because the minute they pop up, all hell break loose.
Mm.
And what I've done over the years is to face these triggers, find a way to cope with it.
Mm.
It's not acceptable. It's not allowed, but I cannot stop you, JNL, from being you.
Mm.
If your choice is to chew your gum and pop your gum, that's you, right? However, I cannot impose what I went through on you.
Mm-hmm.
I have to find a way to make it not control my life because it is. If
Mm.
I'm going to run because of you popping a gum, that means the situation is still controlling me.
Mm.
So I have to figure out how do I work around that. And for years, that's what I've done. I've even got to the point that I chew gum because let me immerse myself in the situation to see how I can better handle it.
Mm.
And a smell coming, you pass and there's a smell or there's a particular color or a person posture that brings that memory back. And instead of saying, you know what, I'm not gonna shy away from this. I'm gonna face it head on because you no longer have control. And
Mm.
in those moments, I find myself speaking to my pain, speaking to whatever the trauma was. Not today. You might,
Come on
the
now.
devil, Satan got a problem. If he thought that he was gonna have me, not because I'm taken.
Mm.
I don't know what do you think this is? That was 20 years ago. That was 30 years ago. And yes, you continue to do it.
Oh,
Did she freeze?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, so
We
I'm pretty
having
sure
some
she's going to
technical
get
issues.
it back.
Okay, it
Okay,
came
Oh,
you're
back.
there
back,
we go.
Alicia.
Yeah.
Right. But in the moment, when you stop and you reflect on what took place and you have found ways to cope with it, ways to address it, sometimes we hide behind the makeup, behind the job, behind the clothes, behind the pride, and we create our own stage and we perform daily. But deep down inside, we have the desire to take that mask off
Mm.
and let everybody know that I'm hurting
Hmm.
and I need healing. I need for you to understand. And I'm crushing under my own weight. And
Mm.
people are not going to understand. They empathize with you, but they're not going to understand what you've been through unless they have been through it themselves or unless they themselves decide to share their story.
Mm.
And sometimes, like Danielle said, the love is right there, but because we don't open up,
Mhm.
and we don't open up because we feel that we're being judged, again, going back to the manipulation.
Mhm.
So the triggers are dealt with, in my case, by addressing them, not running from them. Because the trauma happened. There's
Mhm.
no way of taking it back. But how do I deal with it going forward? I'm going to address it. I'm going to let you know that, yes, you were able to say certain things, and yes, you were able to control me at age 12. But I'm older than that now. I'm wiser.
Mhm.
I've grown. I've learned. I've read. I've seen other situations. Realized that, you know what? Not me. You picked the wrong one.
Mhm.
You
I
picked
like
the
that,
wrong
Alicia.
one. Eh?
I like that because you're choosing. And this is why this show is so important in this platform, because you're looking at three beautiful women that have all been through some traumatic things, very, very hard things. But we're still here, and we're here telling you today if I can say one thing to you, I would say that there is power in one more. Just love one more time. Just take one more step. Just forgive him one more time. You know, just try one more time. I know it's failed twice. You know, as I look back in my life and I look back at where I've come from, I think I'm the most divorced person in my entire family. You know, I got three gorgeous, beautiful daughters for three different men. Two of them were ex-husbands. You know, so when I look at my life, I can allow that to dictate what my worth is. I can allow that to say, well, you're not, I mean, look at you. I mean, how dare you be in the church and you've done all of this and you've been through all of that. I mean, how dare you? See, I've been called and I've been chosen by God. And sometimes we had to go through certain things to get us to where God wants us to be. And a lot of times our traumas wasn't just for us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because could it have been your fault at 11, 12, Alicia? How could it have been your fault, Danielle, at the moment where you were most vulnerable? Many of us have never lost both parents at one time. I told you, I'd be crazy somewhere just biting my toenails. I'd be, you know, sitting in the middle of the street just looking all crazy. If that would have happened to me, I love my parents dearly and I can't imagine losing them so suddenly. But in spite of what we've been through, you know, many of us have seen that illustration where, you know, they hold up $100 bill, throw the $100 bill on the ground, mash it up, and they hold it back up and they say, "Who want this?" "I want it." They go ahead and ball it up and spit on it and throw it back down, pick it up and straighten it out. "Who wants it?" "I want it." The $100 bill never lost its value.
Yeah.
It never lost its value. You can take that broken, burn up $100 bill to the bank and you can say, "Can you exchange this for another $100 bill?" And they will give you a brand new $100 bill for that broken, busted, tore up from the floor up $100 bill. And this is what we're saying to you today. This is the purpose of us expressing ourselves. We want you to know that there is power in one more. There is power in knowing that you're taken, that you are bought with a price. Because the aim of the enemy is to kill, to steal, and to destroy. So if he can kill your dreams, if he can steal your hope and steal your faith, he can destroy your life. But God said that I have come that you may have life and that you may have it more abundantly, which means you ain't broken down, busted, and disgusted, looking all crazy and haggly like, okay, what's going on? Abundance means you've got more than enough. You are looking so beautiful in your yellow. You're beautiful. You're radiant. You're exuding excitement because you understand, even though you've been through so much, you still that $100 bill, baby. You still got worth. You still have worth. And today, if you don't take anything else from this show, know that you are taken. So when the enemy starts to talk to you in your mind, when he starts to say, "Oh, you know, you ain't good enough. You don't even deserve that." No. Just, you need to give him the hand and say, "Shut up." Yeah, just shut up. You know, I want to say something else, but I'm saved. Just shut up. Okay? Shut up. Speak to the hand. Because I know that I'm taken, and even though I'm looking at my situation and it don't look all that good right now, I know that God is moving me. He's taking me to
Dana,
another
you need
place.
to take you need to take that back. You want to say something else, but what?
I'm saved, honey. You know, the Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? He's the strength of my life. Whom should I be afraid? I'm not going to say that bad word on your show, Alicia. The guests may not want me to come back. And guests, I want to come back. And so I want to make sure that I'm on my best behavior.
Well, you know, it's so funny you say that, though. It's so funny you say that because you are so right about the one more time. And this, I can't remember where I first heard this. I wish I had like notated, but they were essentially saying that when good things happen, we automatically know it's not going to last forever. Like if you have a good meal, as wonderful as the meal is, you know there's going to be a last bite. You know, if you have an amazing visit with a friend, you know at some point the two of you have to go home. Like we know automatically that good things will come to an end. But for whatever reason, that part of our brain turns off when something bad happens.
Mm-hmm.
When something bad happens, the part of our brain that knows nothing lasts forever turns off, and we think, oh, well, this is it. This is what my life is now. It's going to be like this forever. Nothing will ever change. I'm going to be stuck right. And it's like, no. The same way that no good thing lasts forever, this bad thing isn't going to last forever either. Whatever is happening in this day. And I remember sitting down as I was heading back to Florida the day after my parents had passed, and I'm watching people get gas, and I'm thinking to myself, is this or is this not an ordinary day? Like my whole life has turned upside down. And if you looked at the world, everything looks exactly the same. And it's because no matter what happens on the worst day of your life, there is another day after it. And the day after that. And so us sitting here, you know, for those who are watching, us sitting here, we are telling you that we have survived some of the worst days of our lives. And there was a tomorrow after that day. And there was a next week and the next month and the next year. And it got better, because just like good things don't last forever, neither do the bad things. And if you keep going to tomorrow and next week and next month and next year, you get to experience the life that happens when you keep going. So keep going, because the shortest way through is through. Don't try to go around. Don't try to navigate. Just straight through. Whatever it is, face it head on, get therapy, get friends, get counseling, get whatever you need. The shortest way is through. And whatever happened, and there are some people, I mean, you're here also, we've gone through some bad things. There are people who survived the Holocaust. There are people who survived slavery. The worst day of your life will have a tomorrow if you show up for it. And then you will have a story as well about what life looks like on the other side of the worst. It's the day. It's the day. It's a season. If you keep going, there is more on the other side. This bad time, just like the dinner or the piece of cake you ate, it does not last forever.
That's right.
Keep going.
Hear that, Janelle? You know, I absolutely love the insight and the input from both you guys. It's amazing. And when you stop and you think about the Bible and the stories in the Bible, and you think about Joseph and David and even Jesus himself, he had to push through. You know, realistically, we have to be. I think sometimes the problem is, and it's not a problem per se, is that we're not being realistic. We're not being truthful to ourselves. We want to live, we want to tell a story. We want everybody to think that we're okay when we're not. And realistically, man will disappoint you. But God is going to see you through. And the crushing and the pain that we still feel, they're real. It's not nothing that's fake that's happening. And people will talk about it and they'll point a finger. But God does not care about any of that. What he cares about is what comes out. And because he has purposed you, because he chose you, because you are taken, you will push him out of you. Everything that's happening, yes, it's happening, but you're pruning. You're growing. A seed is being planted, and that seed is being watered. And as that seed is being watered, it will grow into something beautiful. Again, if you told me I would be here today speaking, not even just be here, speaking, I'm not allowed to say it, but Janelle, you can. If I told you, or you told me that
you're not an introvert. I said it.
I would say no, not Alicia. I'll write something for you. I'll write it so you can read it. But you're not seeing my face on the camera. I'm not saying anything. But because
yes, you are.
Because it was not my plan. It's his plan. And no matter how you try to be derailed, or whatever it is that try to derail you, you're going to go through this process and endure, because it's his plan. And there's something sweeter that's coming. And I have tasted my sweetness.
Mm.
And because I've tasted this sweetness, I want to taste something sweeter. So
Yes.
I'm going to keep
Yeah.
pushing. I am going to keep on forgiving,
Mm-hmm.
because forgiving gives me this peace that I cannot explain, that I want that high every day.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is that brings your high, but for me, forgiveness brings that high, and it covers every other area in my life. Because when this is frustrating, and I just think about the high I get from forgiving.
Mm-hmm.
That I said a high, but it's a calm that comes with it.
Mm-hmm.
A peace.
There's a peace that comes with it.
Yes.
It's serenity. It's and sometimes it's even serendipity. It happens and I don't even know that it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely love it, you know. And when we look back and we look at things and we didn't understand it in the moment, and you look back at it now and you could really sit down, just like Danielle said, when she realized that she's happy with her life. You get there and you're like, I am happy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it makes a lot of sense. I don't have anything to complain about
Mm-hmm.
because it wasn't me. It wasn't about me. It happened to the physical body, but it didn't mess with it. And if
Mm-hmm.
Satan was smart enough and he was witty enough, he would realize that, no,
You
I
just
keep
wasted your
trying, but
time.
not me. You're right.
Hmm.
You're wasting time. Not this one.
I'm
It has
taken,
nothing to
baby.
do with her size. It has nothing to do with her complexion. It has nothing to do with her culture. It's the fact that I didn't create her. I didn't write her story. So
Mm-hmm.
therefore, I could try everything I can in between. It's going to be some up and down, but the ultimate end is what he created, what he
Yeah.
had in purpose. So again, it's never too long enough, and always very short. We had a delightful this afternoon, and I say delightful because I'm looking at the yellow too, Janelle, and it's pretty.
It's
Absolutely.
gorgeous.
Yes,
It is. I've got sunshine
On a hot day.
on a cloudy
It's
day.
not cloud, it's hot.
It is.
It's scorching. But it's absolutely beautiful that we can share an afternoon together,
Yes.
sisters on a journey,
Yes.
and not just laugh and talk and taking light of whatever we've been through,
Mm.
but we're sharing an afternoon where we're trying to be transparent and enlighten others that listen, all is not lost. There is still hope. There is still a purpose. The fact that you woke up this morning, the
Mm.
fact that you're still breathing, the fact, even if, it might sound harsh, but even if you're sitting down with one leg amputated, you're still breathing.
Mm.
He has a purpose. That's for you to tell your story. That's not for you to sit and, it's easier said than done. Don't get us wrong,
Mm.
because in the moment you don't feel it. But it's for you to tell a story and say, you know what? It could have been worse.
Mm.
And worse is dead,
Mm.
But I'm here with an ailment. Yes, I'm gonna admit it. I have an ailment and it hurts. And sometimes I might throw my anger on others because of what I've been through. But guess what? There's still some light at the end of the tunnel.
Mm.
There's a reason why I'm still here, because he could have just say it's time to come home. It's
Mm.
time for me to leave. But there's a reason. So
Mm.
don't, whoever is listening, I can't say don't because you will, you're human. But I'm going to slide it in there. Don't be discouraged because of your situation. Be realistic about it. Realistic is I'm talking to my pain. It is happening. I'm not going to deny any of it. It is happening. People have hurt me. People have manipulated me. I can't make ends meet. I have financial issues. I have health issues. But guess what? It's his story. I'm just living through it. And how am I going to make it better? How am I going to fulfill the purpose he has for me?
Mm.
And the way you do that is to verbally, literally shout it if you have to. Say, I am chosen, I am taken. That's a good feeling, saying I'm taken. I am taken.
Mm.
And it doesn't have to be taken by a man in marriage. As Danielle said earlier, you're single and people think that you're a certain age. There's nothing wrong with you, sweetheart. There's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with Janelle. There's nothing wrong with anybody male or female, who doesn't have a person in their life that they can like. Because sometimes it's better you by laying down by yourself than laying with somebody that's
Okay.
gonna drive you crazy that you know don't care about you, right? But
Mhm.
I'm taken and I'm laying with the master because he created me. And I can rely and be at peace knowing that I am taken. I am. I am. It's a good feeling. I am.
Mm,
I am.
I
It's a
love
surreal feeling. All
it.
right, let me get on my moments. Um, Janelle?
What can I say, Alicia? Like you said, an hour is never enough, but I really appreciate you and the vision that God has given you for this platform 2 years ago. And really, I really was just coming on to support you to get you out of your introverted phase of your life. And now it's 2 years later, and I'm still here. But I've been really blessed and grateful for this sisterhood that we've formed, and the many women that we've spoken to, the many testimonies that we've heard, the people that we were able to bless, the lives that we were able to transform because of this platform. And it goes back to purpose. I mean, I know people, I drive purpose. I mean, straight down the middle, but it's really about purpose. And I want you to understand that in order for something to be beautiful, for example, a diamond has to go through pressure, it has to go through heat, it has to go through fire for it to be refined. But do you know how much you would pay for a piece of dirty, refined diamond? Baby, it's expensive. And so I want you to know that even though you don't feel like it, you were bought with a price and you are worthy. You are worth it. So do not let your past dictate your future or bleed into the future that God has for you. I love you guys so much. Danielle, oh my God, you have just blessed the socks off of our audience. And me and Alicia, we're so grateful that you just, you came on, you was transparent, you shared your story with us, and we can't say thank you enough. But we want to know how can the people that are watching find you, but you can find me on Facebook whenever I'm there at the She Inspired Women. On Instagram as Miss She Inspired Speaks, or you can find me as Janelle Drayton on Facebook. You can send me a message, DM me if you want to take one of my coaching classes. You want to find out how do I uncover or discover what my purpose is. I would be happy to help you. Danielle, tell them how they can find you on social media.
On Facebook, I am Danielle Simmons. And if you look for me on Instagram, I am d.real.simmons. So the real Simmons. And that's where you find me on Instagram.
And do
Any
you have any
closing
contact
remarks you
information?
want to share with us today?
Oh gosh. So I think of this quote from a book called Little Bee. And it's near the beginning of the book. The character has seen a girl whose legs are covered in scars, and all of them are in a refugee camp. And this little girl is there, and her legs are covered in scars. And she says, "Let us agree, you and I, that all scars are beautiful. That it is the scar makers who want us to believe that scars are ugly, that scars are shameful. But let's agree, the two of us, that all scars are beautiful." And this is the line that I have carried with me ever since I read this book.
Wow.
It said, "Because I promise you, a scar does not form on the dying."
Wow.
As people who have been hurt and who have scars, the scar, the fact that you are being scarred, that scars are forming, that is proof that you are still alive. It is proof that you have kept going, that you have made it. A scar does not form on the dying. And so if you have a scar, it's beautiful. It is part of your story. Keep going, get your scar.
Thank
Mm,
you so much. Thank you.
oh my gosh, that was deep. I just want to add that to our listening audience, you might be listening and might be going through a situation that seems unbearable, unreasonable, unfair, painful, and personal stories are difficult to share. And it's difficult, it might be difficult for you to discuss or articulate exactly what you're going through. But sometimes it's necessary for the disturbance and the disruption. And you have no idea what God is making while you're in that pain, while
Right.
you're aching, while you're crushing. You have no idea that He's grooming you for the next season. And during that process, believe it or not, you are gaining wisdom and the ability to endure. You're gaining enlightenment, you're gaining clarity. You know, in situations you don't see anything but darkness. But you're being groomed in that moment to achieve what God has planned for you. So whether it be the trauma of deceitfulness or of domestic violence, He is going to bring you through it because He has a plan for you. God has a plan
Mm-hmm.
for you. And no matter what it is, there's absolutely nothing that can hold you down. I am Alicia Alexander, and you can find me on Instagram as She Forgave One, on Facebook as my namesake, Alicia Alexander, or She Forgave. And I would like for you to know, if nothing else, everything that we said today is coming from the heart. There's nothing rehearsed. It's what we have experienced and what we're feeling. And we're still growing. And we want to let you know that we're here for you. And as usual, forgiveness is key. Whether you want to do it or not, forgiveness is key. Forgiveness freed me. Forgiveness can free you. And if you remember what the Lord said, what Jesus said on the cross when He was dying, He said, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do." Even He asked for forgiveness for us. So who are we not to put ourselves in that position? Again, thank you for joining us at Chit Chat with the Journey Sisters, and we look forward to seeing you on the first Saturday in, oh wow, September. I'm saying it early.
Wow.
August,
I
this is
know,
August.
right?
I know, September. Oh wow.
My
Again,
birthday.
why did I say that? Why did I say it?
It's gonna be amazing.
Have a wonderful week. Thank you, Danielle. Thank you,
Thank you.
Janelle.
Thank
And we love you.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.